Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome back for another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the one and only intern himself, Padawan J.
Boy, you know, it's funny. We had the show planned out, what we were going to do, what we were going to talk about, everything we were going to cover. And then a couple people in like the last 12 hours must have found out or heard rumor of it and decided to go and upend the whole thing.
Yeah, this is one of those weird circumstances where we have everything planned out and we're ready to go. And then if you read on Facebook and Instagram, we did have a little issue here at the studio that has finally been fixed, thank God. So now we are back rocking and rolling. And the show that we had planned out, it completely scrapped, and now we have a brand new lineup of everything coming and going. So let us waste no more time. The lead story this week is the update on Disney and Fox merging. Pad, what do you got?
Lord have mercy, I was not expecting this news today. So, of course, the kind of pre-update to this was Comcast had submitted its own bid to buy Fox Studios. Now, that would be Fox, the movie studio, some of Fox Television Studios. Now, that would be everything but, I think, the main Fox channel. And then, you know, some of the overseas stuff and including some other stuff. That was a bit of, I want to say it was like $65 billion. To quote the Hall of Famer Randy Moss, straight cash, homie.
Yeah, that was the first deal to come down the pike.
Yeah, so that came down, and of course, that was after Disney had initially submitted its $52.4 billion deal. That was a mix of cash and stock. Well, it came out today that Disney has upped its offer from the aforementioned $52.4 billion to $71.3 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I know I said to a couple people when the Comcast thing came out, people were like, oh, Comcast is going to get it. No. Slow your roll, folks. I knew Disney was going to blow them out of the water because I don't pay attention to all the box office numbers and I don't keep an active watch on them. But I see the stuff and I can do some easy math in my head. As of Monday this week, it's probably up over it by now, but as of like Monday or Tuesday this week, Disney, in terms of movies it put out for the year, was just shy of $2 billion.
So they covered the deal right now.
Yeah.
With 6 months left.
Yeah, so they were at just under $2 billion for the year, and it's mid-June.
That's insane.
So I knew, with that knowledge, the Comcast deal's a lot. Yeah, it's in cash. Disney's got stuff laying around. They can work stuff. Now, the thing with this deal is Disney's offer is 50% cash, 50% stock. Now, keep that in mind. As mentioned before, Comcast is 100% cash. Now, the reason, and I'm not an economist, I'm not, some sort of market strategist, so don't come hit me up for stock advice or anything. This is just what I'm reading. This is just me reading and knowing just enough to get by. The Disney offer is more enticing for the fact that if you take the Comcast offer, it's straight cash. You get nothing else. What you get's what you get. Don't burn through it all. Here's your allowance, kid.
Right.
They take the Disney deal. You get the 50% of it cash, but then you hold on to that. You get that stock. You don't have to sell that stock immediately. I mean, you can if you want, but you can hold on to that. You can hold on to that till you die and then pass it off to your kids. That's more money coming for you down the line.
And plus, the big emphasis on this deal, I mean, if you have the stock with Disney with this, the amount of money they're going to make now having the Marvel properties back alone is going to be your investment and then some. It's mind-boggling to see the numbers getting thrown around. But obviously, I think the better deal is to have that stock option where you still have some controlling interest rather in the company's future work. It just pays itself.
Yeah, and as of recording, of course, we're recording on Wednesday. The stock markets have closed. You want to take a guess what Disney's stock price is worth right about now?
Oh, well, after that announcement, it's got to be through the roof.
$107.15 a share. And you can see the line graph right about the news hit. It shot through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say if anybody was questioning about getting some Disney stock right now, this is the time to jump on it.
I'm kicking myself I didn't get any or pick any up after they got Lucasfilm because I saw this coming down. I didn't see this specifically coming down the line, but I just saw the money machine printing money. I was like, they're getting Star Wars. They're going to get a boatload of money. Lord knows what else they're going to get. I should have bought it years ago. I knew it.
Well, you know what? You can hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
But looking at the aspect though is now if they get all those properties, and we've talked about the possibilities of movies and TV shows and everything coming down the pike after. It's foolish not to jump on that. I mean, like I said, if I had to choose one, I'm taking the one that's going to pay me over and over and over, because that one, with everything they could do and the various forms they can do it on now with the characters they're going to acquire.
Yep.
It's a no-brainer.
Right, and I know there are probably going to be some people listening right now, oh, why are you guys writing out Comcast? Comcast can still do it. Yeah, they could. But the difference between Comcast's offer and Disney's offer, other than 100% cash, 50-50, is Disney is doing this from all in-house.
Yeah.
They're just doing this from what they got laying around, which they've got, a Bilbo Baggins, Smog's treasure load of cash lying around. Comcast is doing this all from telling people, hey, we're good for this, we're going to get this back, But then you look at the other aspect of it, okay, so what exactly, we mentioned, they'll get the X-Men, they'll get Fantastic Four back, but, specifics, what does it mean? Disney would get the film studio 20th Century Fox. So you go to the movie theater, you see the whole, that whole opening crawl. Mm-hmm. They will get that movie studio. They will acquire FX networks, so that would be FX and FXX. They would get the National Geographic Channel, several international channels, and including regional sports networks. So your Fox Los Angeles, your Fox this, your Fox that. They would also get Fox's 30% stake in Hulu and their 39% stake in the European satellite provider Sky. Now, the Murdoch family would retain some assets, such as Fox News, Fox Broadcasting Company, and they would regroup and rebrand them as a new company. Now, the thing of it is the other reason Comcast is out of this deal. It's not officially, they haven't officially said they're out of it, but they're out of it. Yeah, they can keep upping the deal and upping their however much they're throwing in for straight cash, but as of the deal they've submitted is now, they would be taking on a debt that added to theirs would put it at $164 billion in debt. And if they try to up the dollar amount, this is like business 101. You keep upping the dollar amount you're offering, you're just going to up the dollar amount you're going into debt. You're going to put yourself out of business.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like grabbing a brass ring. The idea is great, sure, but if you can't pull it off without, sinking your own ship on that,
right?
Why even try? I mean, granted, if they could do it, sure. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but if you can't match it to go with it, and I'm sure Disney is ready to go long haul for this.
Right, and of course I'm getting all this information from CNBC, Bloomberg, CNN Money. The $164 billion figure is according to Moody's Investor Service, who, of course, they're the ones who hand out the ratings for countries and businesses or whatever. Mm-hmm. If they took this deal in Comcast, if the deal went through Comcast, Comcast's credit rating could go through the floor.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's a risky move for them, just from what we've been gathering from reading these various sites.
Yep.
It's high risk, high reward. But if you're going to get into a bidding war with Disney, this is not, in my opinion, it's not going to end well.
And this would not be good for them, because if they took on that $164 billion debt as it stands, that would put them number 2 behind AT&T, who of course just took on Time Warner's debt.
Yeah.
And then now the other thing of it is I had this kind of feeling that Comcast was kind of sitting on their hands and decided last minute, you know what, why don't we do this? So I was talking with some people. They didn't decide to do this at last minute. This is kind of partially their own fault that they're not more in on this. They decided to wait and see what would happen with the Time Warner AT&T deal, and whether so they waited. Disney didn't wait.
Yeah.
Disney surgically went in there, figured everything out, and got it figured. So now, as a result, from everything I've been reading, deal's done. And from what somebody in the Bloomberg article said, that somebody with intimate knowledge of what's going on at the Department of Justice antitrust division, this deal is going to get approved in 2 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean they'll get things in 2 weeks, because you still have overseas stuff that's got to get approved.
It's going to be a long process of paperwork.
You're looking at least 4 months, but as it stands right now, Disney's getting Fox.
This is just an insane deal, just on paper to read, and the money getting thrown around is just astronomical. I mean, just even think about it. and I mean, Pat is well done on the stats, by the way, my
Thank you.
friend. I'm sitting there just recapping what you're saying. This is just one of those things that Disney is built for this for long haul. They are not going to back down because for them, this is another piece to the puzzle that they could add a whole new dimension of if they want to go use their characters and gain other characters.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this from the comic aspects, so to speak. I'm looking at the Marvel. I'm not even going into what you get with if you acquired, what they say, FX and FXX.
Yep.
Those two networks alone. And then I know with Disney trying to do their own streaming service, I don't know how that would go in effect with Hulu if they could acquire the 30%. As you were saying.
Yeah.
That's still up in the air. But if you want to break it just down, just to the Marvel characters alone, if they get everybody under the same roof.
Well, short of whatever Sony's got, and then Universal still has, but it's the lion's share of the characters.
Yeah, it's a lion's share. I mean, I think Universal's allowing Hulk to be used.
Right?
If I'm not mistaken, they have Hulk.
There's a lot of gray area with Universal.
Yeah, but if they're willing to work with them, I mean, everybody's going to win on this because I mean, Marvel, every movie they're doing is making money.
Oh yeah, it's insane to think that as of the middle end of June, they're sitting at almost $2 billion. Now, granted, they've come out with some heavy hitters. You had Black Panther did monster numbers, Avengers Infinity War did it monster numbers, Coco did monster numbers. I know Incredibles 2 just shattered an animated record for opening weekend with $184 million.
Right.
They're just shattering records left, right, and center. But to me, it's almost insane to think about that it's mid-June and they're at $2 billion for the year.
No, that's an astonishing feat. To say the least, because I mean, you're only naming a couple handful of movies. You're not going through the whole slate. I mean, what was their worst one to come out on, according to the box office record? Solo. And that still made money. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't gangbusters.
It's not the worst grossing Star Wars film of all time by any means.
Right, but just looking at that, if that's your worst movie, I mean, there's got to be plenty of studios that be like, I would take that in a heartbeat.
Oh God, yeah.
For that money.
Oh God,
I mean, it's just a difference of just Disney is built, and Disney is so smart about their moves that now it's like if they can acquire it. I mean, for them, this is a huge piece to their overall puzzle of what they want to do for the future coming up.
This is Bob Iger's legacy. Bob Iger, of course, is the current head of Disney. This is his legacy. I mean, you look back and you look at what Walt Disney did for the company and setting everything up and kind of the golden age of Disney. Your Snow Whites, your Alice in Wonderland, your Pinocchios, those movies that you look back fondly on. And it's like, you're not quite sure why you still watch these movies, but if there's not anything going on a Friday night, Saturday night, and it's on TV, you're flipping channels, you see Pinocchio on or something, you still watch it. It's that golden age of Disney. They had the Renaissance in the 90s with Aladdin, Lion King, and whatnot, and they're kind of entering their second golden age now. This is Bob Iger's legacy that he can look back and say, I brought the company from here, I brought it up to here, and I added a whole boatload of stuff they can play with.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like we say, is astronomical. And if this is sounding like the deal is leaning towards it's done unofficially.
It's the, what is it? The Department of Justice and Disney really are non-committal on the whole thing. Right. But from everything that's being said, like I said, from Variety, CNBC, Bloomberg, CNN Money, the deal's done.
This is just going to be a monumental event to happen for film, TV.
Yeah,
this is nothing that is going to go quickly under the radar by any means. The lasting effects if this goes through is huge. I mean, that's why we talk about it so much, because when the money is getting thrown around to this degree, and the properties involved, I mean, this is widespread. This
isn't just X-Men and Fantastic Four. This is Avatar. This is Titanic. This is anything that Fox has ever put out as a movie studio. Disney's got it.
Yeah, this is just going to be like, I'm even trying to find the words to fully explain it, because for me, I'm just getting over the fact of how much money is involved.
Honestly, I thought their offer was going to be a lot higher.
I mean, it still might be before it's all said and done.
That's true. Like I said, Comcast can still be in this bidding war for it, but they will bankrupt themselves if they keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, it's risky for them. I mean, if they want to go that route, obviously that's their business. But I'm just looking at it and going, you know what? This has Disney winning all over it, and what they're going to win. I mean, it's huge. That's a huge prize to pull home.
Because that's for of course they are launching their streaming service. That is a lot of backlog of movies, television, documentaries that you can throw on that streaming service. Like that streaming service just doubled or tripled.
Yeah, I mean, that if you really want to make an impact coming out of the gate on a streaming service, because now it seems like that's where TV and films are going.
Yeah.
That's one heck of a footprint to make on the opening shot.
That's a shot across the bow at Netflix when that thing launches. Because as I said before, you want to make money hand over fist on this thing, add every movie Disney's ever done and will ever do, add their entire TV catalog they've ever done and will ever do, and now if you do the same for Fox, Lord have mercy, Netflix is going to need to step its game up.
It's going to be interesting to watch the fallout from this.
Yeah.
To say the least, because the deal still, like we said, is not finalized. But if you're doing the math at home, I don't see how they don't take the deal with the stock option.
No.
Because that will just pay itself and then some. Because, like we said, if you look at it now, the 6th month of the year, and they've already made $2 billion.
Yep.
Imagine what they can do if they got all the toys in the toy box to work with.
Yeah, because and plus for your franchises and that you really care about, Disney really doesn't get their hand involved and say, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. They're just the parent writing the blank check on, all right, you need how much? Okay, here you go.
Yeah, and if they just let them do what they do, sky is the limit. I mean, this is going to be something to watch, and just for fans. I mean, for me, I'm excited for the Marvel properties, but just overall, I can't wait to see what happens.
It's insane, and I think the ramifications and what we could possibly see out of this, I think there's somewhere not even seeing.
Yeah, but let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on the latest in the Marvel, Disney, Fox, Comcast story? We want to know. Hit us up. Let us know. You're listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Coming back for segment number 2 on the ODPH Entertainment Edition. Pad, you got some Star Wars news?
Yeah, so I get done with the whole Fox Disney thing. I'm taking notes. I'm writing everything down. And then some Star Wars news drops, rather interestingly. It's being reported by Collider that any future spin-off, quote-unquote, a Star Wars story films are being put on hold. Now, what that means is the majority of them weren't officially announced. I know a couple of weeks ago we talked about the Boba Fett film.
Mm-hmm.
That hadn't been announced by Lucasfilm. And my mantra and belief with anything Star Wars is unless it comes from Lucasfilm or you read it on StarWars.com or on any one of their official social media pages, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, take it for a grain of salt. That is on hold. The often rumored Obi-Wan film on hold. Now, the Rian Johnson trilogy that was announced, ironically, on my birthday, still a go.
Okay.
The film, I'm not quite sure if it's just a single film, dual film trilogy that the creators of TV creators of Game of Thrones are working on, still going.
Okay.
Episode 9, still going. Anything else, up in the air, on hold.
Now, that's kind of very interesting to hear, especially on the news of what we were talking about in the last segment.
Uh-huh.
So if they're pausing all this, do you have any kind of ideas why? Would you guess?
I think it's just they're kind of refocusing their vision. While I enjoyed Rogue One and the Solo movie, to me it didn't necessarily feel like a Star Wars movie. It almost felt like those are stories that you could save for one of the novels or a comic or something. It didn't necessarily have, while Rogue One was cool that like it kind of tied up some of the loose ends or plot holes in, episode 4, it didn't necessarily have the gigantic, massive feel of a Star Wars film. Plus, yeah, let's be honest, I'm sure the box office or the less than stellar box office numbers had something to do with it. When they're being projected to do one thing and they do just a little short of that, it hurts the bottom line, as it were.
Yeah, anytime you're going to, say Star Wars, I mean, the expectations are through the roof.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes with the fan base. It comes with the history of the film.
I'm saying it comes with, the films being around for so long as they are. Even, yes, there were gaps when they were being made. They were still very popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for the films to be put on hold, other than Episode 9,
yep,
this is kind of telling something. Now, if everybody is very unhappy with how Solo did, that's one thing. But if they're just putting it on the brakes and just reassessing, that's another. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that that is the case, because one bad film, and I don't want to say bad, but I mean in comparison to your episodes throughout the the major ones,
your numerical
Empires,
films.
your New Hope. When you want to compare that, I mean, Solo did not hold up its end of the bargain. Rogue One, I thought did.
Yeah, it was good.
But obviously, it was a throwaway tale, but it coincided and it made sense.
Yeah.
Solo just kind of felt like we're going to address a couple things, but it didn't really have that, I want to say, organic feel.
Yeah.
That it just kind of was, well, we're going to piece some stuff together and let's hope it sticks. Albeit, though, it was a fun film.
Yeah.
Wasn't, would I say it's on Empire level?
No.
Not
Bottom half of the franchise.
Right. Still better than Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But I digress. But going into it, though, it's very interesting to see if they're holding to reassess. Now, if this is tying into the whole Comcast deal, or
Fox, Disney.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, there's so many companies involved in that one, I lose track.
Yeah, no, this has all been going on in like the last hour or so.
Yeah, as we're recording. See, I can't even focus right now. But this is a truly big deal for Star Wars. And if they're just doing it to regroup and just kind of waiting to see how that deal does,
yeah,
to coincide to their future moves, okay, that makes sense. And I'm all right with that, because not saying they're going to, try going in and getting other properties. Like, you're not going to see, the X-Men in the Millennium Falcon anytime soon.
Comics maybe, but no, not on screen.
Yeah, comics maybe, but you're not going to see it on screen. But if they want to reassess and go, okay, now that our other business has been handled, we kind of see where our parent company is doing and where the focus is going to shift. Now let's kind of really hone in on what we want to do post-9.
Right, and even for me, it almost feels at times that it's a bit of overload. And I'm the big Star Wars guy. I'm the one who's got a bunch of friends online who are all, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars.
You're named Padawan for a reason.
Exactly. Even for me, there are times where it feels almost overwhelming, because for a lot of people, their excitement didn't start until the first trailer for Force Awakens came. For me, it was when, the Disney Lucasfilm deal got announced. So it's been, 6 years of what it feels like almost nonstop. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, if I'm the head of Lucasfilm, if I'm in Kathleen Kennedy's shoes, I would reassess. I would take a step back. I would see how the Rian Johnson trilogy does. I would see how, the TV creators of Game of Thrones film does. And I would go from there, because you've done two pieces in the past of the franchise. Mm-hmm. They haven't done that well. I think if you look at these movies, whenever they're set, because all I know about the Rian Johnson trilogy is that it is being set in a time that they have not yet explored.
Okay.
Take that for what it will. It could be really far in the past. It could be really far in the future. Who knows? I think if they take a step back and those do really well, I think that they're going to be like, okay, those did way better in comparison to Rogue One and Solo. Let's take a look at something like that.
That makes sense to do. And especially with the characters you're using, unless you're creating new ones for other films. But like, for example, we'll take Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He's already established.
Yeah. He has to be in certain places at certain periods in time.
Yeah. So you're not in a rush to really turn out a film quickly, because his story has already been told. Unless you're going to tell some other backstories. But there's not a huge expectation for it, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, other than me, because I want to see a Boba Fett film, but I'm obviously very cool waiting for one if the story is right and everything is aligned up.
Right, and we've said it before, it's the problem with doing prequels or anything set in the middle of an established universe. Your hands are tied. They have to be certain places. It's kind of the same thing you ran into when the Clone Wars was airing on Cartoon Network. It was set in between episodes 2 and 3. Yeah, there was danger. Yeah, there was threats, but you knew at the end of the episode Anakin and Obi-Wan were going to survive, because episode 3 had already come out.
Right.
You just had the couple of characters that had been introduced on the show throughout the seasons that you weren't quite sure on, because, they weren't in 2 and they weren't in 3, so we don't quite know what's, it's almost the same thing. But I think when you establish new characters, or you go to a time period where Luke isn't running around, or Anakin isn't running around, or any of the established characters in the franchise isn't running around, then you all of a sudden have a lot more interest that, hey, here's a new character that I don't know anything about, and I don't know what's possibly going to happen, because it could be set so far in the past that, they have no effect on what comes, or it could be set so far in the future that there might be little inklings and hints at what happened, but you don't get anything fleshed out.
No, you get more of a clean slate if it's a new character. And if you're going to really focus on doing new characters, okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you want to take the reestablished, or the ones that have already been established, rather, not reestablished, but you want to take your Landos, you want to take your Boba Fett's, you want to take, even a Chewbacca, we'll even throw that out there. But if you want to try doing backstories and solo films on those characters, you have time to kind of really play around and get a great story.
Right.
There's no real rush for it. With the new characters, I think that's the direction they should go in because you have a clean slate.
Yeah.
The expectations are not already established that if they don't hit. Like Solo is one of the major trilogy characters.
Yeah.
Of, Han.
One of the big three, as they're called.
Han, Luke, Leia. That's your Star Wars squad. I mean, Chewbacca's in there too.
Yeah.
But you think the three there, I mean, the expectation for Solo might have been too high.
Yeah.
Maybe too high. I mean, like we said before, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
But there was a lot that, unless you're a really fanatic, that it was kind of like, okay.
No, yeah. And Star Wars, at the end of the day, it's a kid's movie. It's fun for the kids. Everyone I'll say most people who get introduced to Star Wars are introduced as kids. I know when you grew up, it was the original film. So, kids were running around and playing as Han, Luke, and Leia. When I grew up, it was kind of that weird in between. Right. I grew up when there really wasn't anything going on, and I first got introduced when the original films were re-released in theaters. Mm-hmm. So, but my formative years as growing up watching the films were the prequels. So while, people from your generation, your age, were running around as Han, Luke, and Leia, when I was growing up, it was my brother and I reenacting scenes from the prequels because that's what we were growing up with at the time.
Right, that's what you're supposed to.
The kids who grew up when, the Clone Wars was airing, they're running around as Anakin and Ahsoka and everybody from that show. The kids now, they're running around as Finn, Rey, and Poe and Kylo.
Yeah.
Star Wars to me works at its best when you're introducing new characters that the the younger kids, the newer generations can latch onto and identify with.
I agree with you completely because the themes of Star Wars still resonate.
Yep.
And the overall concept, I mean, you take the space odysseys out of it, but the overall concepts of good versus evil still resonate to fans no matter what. And especially for a younger generation to get addicted, but the older ones can respect it too. Like I said, I really like the new trilogies.
Yeah, so do I.
7 and 8 I've liked them so far. In fact, I'm maybe one of the few people that really like 8.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, and I'm excited for what Rian Johnson has because, I don't typically do a bit of fan casting or fan anything, but I think if I had to make his trilogy or help write his trilogy, I would set it so far in the past that it can't possibly have any immediate effects on what takes place down the line because you can introduce new characters and you can even have some fun with, how the Jedi came around, how the Sith came around, and you can have some fun with that. And you've got your hardcore fans, your older fans that, oh, this is something new we haven't seen before. And you got your younger kids, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old who go, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the benefits of, doing new characters. And wherever you establish them, if you can write your own passage with them, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes sense to us. But now with the pause in the action, we're going to have to hear what you guys have to say. What's your take on the latest in Star Wars? Do you guys like that they're waiting to do movies? You want to see more coming out? What is your take on that? We want to know. Hashtag ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Coming back for the third segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and it's Netflix time with Marvel.
Oh boy, here we go.
Luke Cage Season 2 debuts this week.
Yeah.
Little excited for this, not going to lie.
No, I am too. Season one, was phenomenal.
Season 1 was arguably up there with Daredevil Season 1 as the best Netflix show going.
Uh-huh.
Luke Cage, played by Mike Coulter, was phenomenal and really kind of touched the nerve of really getting a mainstream audience to really care about Luke Cage because he's not really been the most popular, except for recent years. He's kind of had a resurgence of popularity.
Yeah.
because you obviously see him connected with Iron Fist and the Heroes for Hire, the first run.
Yep.
So now to see him really break through on a Netflix show that was so superbly done with great casting, great antagonists, and just an overall feel of just how much Luke Cage is an important hero.
Well, and doing an origin story while at the same time not really doing an origin story. You know, they didn't really show, at least at the start, you know, how he got his powers and everything. They kind of hinted at it, and they went into some backstory, but it wasn't your typical hero story where it's, oh, I have these powers, I have to go save, you know, my city now, and I'm going to do it while in full view of everybody.
No, absolutely. I mean, for Luke Cage, he's one hero that he does not need to wear a costume nor mask, and he is just somebody that is just a man amongst the people.
Yeah, he's just going to wear a hoodie and punch you in the teeth.
Yes, and he really stepped into the role. Mike Coulter, like I said, he did an amazing job. And very balanced out season 1 by Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth.
Yep.
Who, if you haven't seen season 1, unfortunately did not make it to the end of season 1, which I really think that was my only takeaway from Luke Cage season 1 that I didn't like.
It's comics, though. He can always come back.
Yeah, I agree. It fully is, but he was such a dynamic antagonist for Luke that eliminating him early in the season, too. I mean, or about the midway point, I guess.
About the midway point, yeah.
I mean, it's not like David Tennant, who was Kilgrave in
Jessica Jones.
Yes, who was killed off the last episode, or in other movies where you see him make it to the final scene. When they took him, Cottonmouth, off the board, that really, I don't want to say hurt Luke Cage, but it really took the wind out of the sails, I think, for a little bit.
A little bit, but then you get the plot twist of, oh, hey, this other guy who's been kind of in the background floating around. You hear his name, but you never see him. Oh, plot twist, he's his brother.
Yes, with Diamondback getting introduced to, and just seeing how they're going about it. Obviously, when they battle and Luke Cage wins, and just how it ends with Luke Cage going back to Seagate Prison, I believe, for the crimes he originally escaped from.
Yep.
And really seeing where they go, and this is where obviously where he was experimented on, and he got a superhuman strength by Dr. Bernstein. So to see where they pick up in season 2 is going to be very interesting. Now, we have read some news about it, but I have not read any spoilers, so I'm really not sure what to expect. Other than the major antagonist this season is going to be John Bushmaster McIver, who, if you know the comics, if you really know Luke Cage history, has been an antagonist of his for years, who is just a crime boss in his own right, who is, I think, experimented on the same way.
Probably. Usually with these comic book stories and movies, villains are often experimented on by the same person because, you know, that person can't stop themselves.
Absolutely. So, and he's going to be a very physical matchup to Luke Cage. He's superhuman strength. I'm not exactly sure, like I said, of how he gets his powers directly. I know how he has his demise in the comics. I don't think they're going to do on the show.
Probably not.
And just going to see how he plays because he's very intelligent. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's pushing Luke's buttons throughout his comics run, but he is definitely almost the guy that's one step ahead. So it'll be really interesting to see how they do this on the show.
No, yeah, because there's definitely going to be some sort of power vacuum with everything in the fallout from season 1. Everything on the crime side of Luke Cage isn't going to be in like a nice little bow. We're sitting down having a cup of tea and some biscuits. There's going to be a power vacuum. There's going to be a struggle, and that for me is going to be really interesting to see the two, however many sides there end up being, fighting with each other.
Yeah, because you still have most of the cast coming back from season 1, and to see how everybody's going to be now removed from season 1, and obviously how the story is progressing, is going to be really fun to watch. And especially because with how Defenders was received. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think the expectation bar was set a little too high for it. But albeit though, it just kind of seemed very short, and just how everybody just came together and just fell apart at the end too. It's going to be really interesting to see how the fallout is here.
Yeah, because you can't come from something like what happened in season 1 of Defenders and then just not have any ripple effect from it.
No, there has to be some. I mean, we saw in Jessica Jones season 2, not a real huge amount of ripple effect.
No, but there was definitely some scars from it.
Yeah, definitely some scars from it. We have not seen anything from Daredevil since that as well.
Which those smart devils, the one everyone wants to know about the most, they're not showing anything.
No, I fully suspect that we might hear something around New York Comic Con time.
I can see that.
That is my unofficial, I don't know anything guess. I'm hoping because
just looking through, they've already done Jessica Jones season 2. Mm-hmm. This is coming out. They're working on Punisher season 2. They're going to do season 3 of Daredevil. Iron Fist is going to be coming. Yeah, probably going to be Daredevil around New York Comic Con.
I would say it's either going to be Daredevil or Punisher.
Because they do what, 2 a year? For Netflix series?
Usually it's 2.
Usually it's 2, so yeah. So this is your first one. You'll have one later in the year. So yeah, probably Daredevil.
And if I'm not mistaken, they're doing something with Iron Fist around San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, okay. Process of elimination.
Yeah, I caught a quick blurb of it, but I don't have enough that I can really go into detail of.
Sure.
So maybe it was rumored, but I did hear some rumblings that Iron Fist might be doing something, the show might be doing something at con. I don't know for fact, but if you know, hit me up, #ODPHEE. But getting back to Luke Cage, I am fully expecting to see just the growth of the character and really kind of see where Luke is now, because he's almost in season 1. He came out of nowhere and became just a symbol of hope for the people of Harlem.
Yep.
So now he's almost on a superstar level.
Yeah, it's a guy who really wanted to be a face in the crowd, really didn't want... he wanted to be that guy that you walk down the street and pass and you don't think anything about him. All of a sudden, that kind of secluded, keep to himself lifestyle is thrown out the window in the worst way possible with getting the powers and everything that transpired, and having his face plastered on the news for the entire, city to see.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how, the superstar, the quote-unquote rock star lifestyle is treating Luke now, especially trying to be a hero where you're going to be in the public's eye constantly. So I think that's going to be kind of a major factor for the series moving forward. I just hope it's on the same level of quality as the show. Obviously, we're going to be reviewing it as it comes out. So
I'll have it done in a day like I usually do.
Oh, absolutely, because it's Marvel shows on Netflix, we watch that in the day. And one other aspect, too, before we close out the segment on it, I'm really excited to see the music on the show.
Yes.
I mean, I know we talk a lot about Cloak and Dagger and how they're using music on their show on Freeform, which is excellent, by the way, and we'll be talking about that next segment. But with Luke Cage definitely taking a lot of the hip-hop element and incorporating it into their show. I mean, Method Man was on for a cameo.
Method Man was in season 1. You can't go wrong with Method Man.
You can't. And I mean, just how they're using the Wu-Tang Clan soundtrack in there as well. I mean, this season, the rumored musical acts I've heard has been Jadakiss, Faith Evans, and Rakim.
Ooh, that's a good line.
I'm sold right there.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see that and just how that incorporates into the show. Because, I mean, music plays so much of a part of Luke Cage. I mean, it goes hand in hand.
If Faith Evans is going to be in it, there's at least 2 songs you can bank or guarantee for this season.
Which ones?
Love Like This and Missing You.
Possibly. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll know as well as you guys do.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look forward to, and I know, like I said, binge the whole thing in a day. Really excited for it.
There's so much on Netflix right now I got to catch up on, too. Voltron just came out this past weekend, but Luke Cage is definitely going to be on the forefront this weekend. So let us know when you guys watch it. We want to know. #ODPHEE. What's going to be your thoughts on Luke Cage Season 2? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break, come back, talk a little Cloak and Dagger with you on the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back and talking a little Cloak and Dagger with you here on the ODPH Entertainment Edition, and this past week's episode, a lot of stuff was going on.
Yeah, it hit you definitely with a lot.
Yeah, because as Cloak and Dagger are finding their powers now, and I mean, the city of New Orleans is almost like another character involved in the show. They're kind of tampering into the, I guess we would say, voodoo aspect, the supernatural aspect, where you see that as Tandy is driving away and gets on a bus after running away from Cloak at the end of the season, or episode 2, rather.
Yep.
There's like a weird dream sequence going on, and at the same time there's something going on with Cloak and involving his girlfriend's aunt, I believe, that is tampering in, and they're trying to like find what's causing all the powers, what's happening, or what's going wrong. And as we kind of see as it's going on, that they're doing a swap, so Dagger is seeing Cloak growing up and Cloak is seeing Dagger growing up,
which is an interesting thing to do when you think about it.
Yeah, because, I mean, just kind of like what is tying them together? And it still hasn't been explained other than they were in the water when the Roxanne building exploded. So obviously there's something in there that's drawing them together. Now, if there's some other supernatural force, we haven't seen it yet.
No.
But not to say it's not coming.
I'll say, because the thing, having been to New Orleans, granted it was a couple of years ago, but still, having been to New Orleans, that city and kind of the voodoo, mystical, supernatural side kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, it's a definite feel that's unlike anywhere else on Earth that you're going to go see. So obviously with the show being set there, they're reflecting that a lot. So with Dagger is watching Cloak and his brother before his death, his brother's death rather, and seeing how Cloak is now aged. They kind of jump around a little bit,
right.
And they see like Cloak that shoots the corrupt cop who killed his brother on repeat, and you kind of see that there's checks written with blood stains on them. They're really not sure what's going on, and Dagger is screaming about breaking the cycle, or like, stop. You don't have to go down this road, because she's seen it on repeat.
Right.
And it's kind of like this weird sequence, but it's interesting to watch of just how much she's now understanding what he's going through.
I almost wonder if the blood on the checks is like a metaphor for something that, okay, his brother got shot and then dirty cops.
I'm wondering something the same thing too, because it almost seems like it's a conspiracy theory.
Right, because, obviously for years he's said, no, my brother didn't drown. He was shot. And they're, his body was in the water for too long for us to pull any meaningful evidence. That whole line. It almost feels like there's some sort of cover-up or conspiracy, dirty cops going on.
Well, you kind of sense that too, because especially at the end, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. But as you see, Dagger seeing Kid Cloak. Cloak is now seeing Kid Dagger, and where his journey, I guess you could say, takes him.
Yeah.
They start on the Roxxon roof, where on episode 1 he wound up waking up on.
That was weird.
Yeah, and then you kind of see that they're in the woods and like watching a glass. It looked like a glass house, which I'm not sure what that was supposed to represent. But as you're watching, you're seeing Dagger's dad get tortured at a boardroom table.
Right.
Which kind of gives me the sense that something was going on prior to that accident at Roxxon.
Well, it's like I said, I think I said to you before, it's Roxxon. They're not exactly the most reputable or honest company in the Marvel Universe.
No, by no means. So thus, it wouldn't surprise us as we go with the series down the road. But it's kind of getting, really interesting. It's kind of trips around all over the place.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Roxxon, real slimy.
Yes. I mean, they're a very corrupt company in the Marvel Comics universe. So whenever you see them come around, it's never anything good. And as you've seen, the Dagger's dad has some ties to them. And then some weird sequence where he's getting tortured on repeat. And then, Cloak is yelling at Tandy to stop and change. And, you don't have to do this. Mm-hmm. So they're almost intertwined in that aspect that they're trying to break the cycle that, are going through pain and watching this over and over and over again. So when it kind of jumps around a little bit, and then it's a weird sequence, where, Dagger goes to check on Kid Cloak in an office, and he's just sitting on a floor behind the room, and is really kind of puzzling. And then same thing too with Cloak going to watch. It almost looks like Kid Dagger's in a church handing out pills.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
Which I just think is more foreshadowing that maybe, and we'll find out later down the road, that there was some drug dealing of some sort going on.
I feel like there's a lot
with Roxxon and
I feel like there's a lot going on that right now it makes no sense, but once you start getting further into the season, or if not by the end of the season, you'll look back and go, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much foreshadowing going on that we're still as viewers just trying to piece together. And I really don't know where the show is going. I mean, I do like it. Like I said, Aubrey Joseph and Olivia Holt have been rocking it out on the show. And they've really been stepping up their game. And the music has been intertwined. Like we were talking about last segment with Luke Cage. They have really made a point to add the music element to it. Mm-hmm. And for every scene that you really hear the music cranked up, and you really hear the artist of just coming through in the acting.
Right. It's not the typical, the radio's on in the background, so we're just kind of playing kind of quietly. No, it's turned up.
Yeah. So when you're seeing this and you're just trying to piece everything together, it's just there's different elements going on. And I guess with Dagger's sense, they've really kind of established her that there's so many layers to her since her father's death that you're still getting an idea of what's going on. You really don't know, but I think there's going to be so much there that when it all gets said and done, you're really going to have appreciation for the character.
Right, because that's the thing with the characters is there is a deeper trust than they're just friends
going
on there. So you got to figure they're kind of building that trust with, I know what happened with you. You know what happened with me. there's no secrets or dirty laundry between us.
No, but at the end of the episode, though, they do connect, and then that's when they all come back to their, I don't want to say they were on the astral plane, but that's what it kind of felt like. So when they finally come back to their bodies and go about their ways, they somehow wind up meeting at the end. But before that happens, though, the detectives on the case, who eventually I'm going to say is going to turn out to be Mayhem, the character from Cloak and Dagger history, is warned about the case that she's investigating, which was the Tandy assault, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And by the cop that killed Cloak's brother. And he gives an ID to silence the case. So something is going on that this is all connecting. What exactly, I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I've got no ideas, no clues, but I'm really interested to see where it goes.
I'm fully hooked on the show.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. Like, this is one show that really flew under my radar because when they originally announced it, I didn't really think it was going to live up to the potential. Not because of how it's written or anything I saw, but just Cloak and Dagger is just a very tricky duo to write.
Yeah.
Because they don't have this huge rogues gallery. They've always been, I want to say, B characters.
Yeah.
And they've always been either in a Spider-Man story.
Right, for all intents and purposes, they're B characters. It's not exactly like they're leading the Avengers charging to go fight Thanos.
No, by no means. So when they really are establishing that they have real threats, and this is antagonists that are not your typical MCU style. I mean, they've always kind of really dealt with more street level, antagonists.
Yeah.
So now kind of seeing where there's a big conspiracy about what brought them together and now what's happening, and how it's all tying into. Somehow, I think that the officer who killed Cloak's brother is going to be involved in the accident that Dagger's father was framed for.
Oh, more than likely.
Something is going to happen there because there's a lot of connecting the dots that is going on because suddenly the one who was attacking Tandy there was an ID and something was just washed under the rug, and the detective is kind of the one that's going to be Mayhem. Is kind of just going like, what's going on? Like, I'm really kind of puzzled about it. And then when the show ends this week, Cloak finds Tandy in the church, and they say, we got to talk. So now everybody's getting drawn together. Like I say, the show has been phenomenal if you've had the chance to watch it. If not, there are only 3 episodes in. You really need to check it out. Thursday nights, 8 o'clock on Freeform. But I believe it's on Hulu now, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah.
So it's an easy, quick catch-up. You'll definitely get into it, and like I said, the music really sells the episode. But let us know what you're thinking on Cloak and Dagger this week. Hashtag ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince, the Common Man Seattle, a local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
Come back for the final segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and it's time for those one-shots. Pat, what you got?
Bit of a sad update. Of course, a couple weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago, I talked about Terry Gilliam's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, the movie that's been in development production hell for decades.
I was going to say, that movie, last we heard, was on track to actually start filming.
Well, it had been filmed. And it was screened at Cannes Film Festival, but last month was not a good month for the film's director, Terry Gilliam. Basically, there's an ongoing legal battle, which I'll get to in a minute. The film lost its U.S. distributor, Amazon. It also was nearly not screened at the Cannes Film Festival, which, was its big coming out party. Gilliam was hospitalized with an alleged stroke amid all the chaos, and believe it or not, it's only gotten worse because at the aforementioned legal rights that were going on between the film's former producer Paul Branco, basically the Paris Court of Appeals ruled in his favor, so now Terry Gilliam has lost the rights to said movie. Basically, long story short, Gilliam and this producer had been embroiled in a legal battle since 2016, way back when, we're talking like, late 80s. He agreed to fund the project, which had been trying to get made since 1989. So when I say literal decades to make this movie, I'm not exaggerating. and give him the creative freedom in exchange for the rights. Gilliam had claimed that Bronco's money never showed up, thus making the initial agreement null and void. So he went elsewhere for funding. The producer insisted he send the money, so he said, she said. Basically, the court agreed in the producer's favor. So Gilliam now has to pay the producer's production company, $11,600 in fees for the appeal, and he's lost the rights to the movie.
Man,
it literally, if you're interested in film, and I know I've said it before, if you're interested in film, and you can look up plenty of documentaries and plenty of behind the scenes stuff on Blu-rays and DVDs about the making of a film, and it's the good side. If you want to find, the worst stuff that can happen to a movie and the literal hell it is to make a movie sometimes, just look up the story of this movie.
It's insane.
It's mind-boggling.
I have nothing on that. I mean, just at this point, it's just...
It's like a novel. It's like a novel. It's like a Stephen King or a J.K. Rowling novel. The amount of stuff that has gone wrong with this movie. I mean, it's Murphy's Law or whatever it is. If it can go wrong, it will.
At this point, you either got to cut your losses with it, or you got to go disaster artist with it and make a movie about how everything is going wrong with this movie.
Right, but and then the thing of it is with this movie is it's done. It was shown, but now it has no U.S. distributor. So how the heck are you going to get it out?
I don't even know where to go with that one. I'll be honest. I mean, if the movie is done and it's ready to get shown to theaters, there's got to be somebody who's either going to jump in or you shelve it, and it's just...
maybe Disney will. They got enough money lying around.
I mean, possibly. There was some Walking Dead news that came out this week.
Yeah, this was a little surprising, to say the least. It's been confirmed that John Bernthal, a.k.a. Shane from Walking Dead fame, season 1, season 2, will be appearing for one episode in upcoming season 9.
The only thing I can take from this is Rick Grimes is going to have the worst flashback.
Oh, he's going on a bender.
Known to man.
Oh, he's going on a bender of all benders. And I don't mean in the drinking or drugs kind of way. I mean, he's going to have a hell of flashbacks.
Well, we already know the problems going on that Andrew Lincoln is leaving the show.
Yeah.
Lauren Cohen's leaving the show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of influx going on with who's staying, who's going, and I guess the direction that season 9 is going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So for John Bernthal to come back as Shane, it's got to be a flashback, or Rick is going to get killed off.
You want to know what I want to see? If you remember Batman Arkham Knight, the video game, in which the Joker was dead, but he was still kind of there, and he'd show up, but it was Batman could only see him. He was kind of hallucinating. I wouldn't mind seeing something to that effect.
No, that would actually make a lot of sense. I mean, if that was going to be the route they were going to go.
Because if you think about it, Rick in the show, he has his moments where he slips up, but by and large, he's very surgical. He's very precise. He's very, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to get the job done. But if he's got, Shane showing up and going, hey, I did this, I did that, you're messing up this, you're messing up that. Because I got a feeling if they go this route, it's not going to be Shane rehashing the past. It's going to be Shane critiquing what he's doing now and all his mess ups and all his screw ups. And I feel like it's going to affect him at one point that this might be where he dies.
You got to think at this point. I mean, if Andrew Lincoln is officially done with the show, it only makes sense.
It only makes sense that what kills him off is essentially the biggest thing that haunted him early in the show.
Yeah, I mean, and Shane was such an antagonist.
So you talk about ghosts of the past.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they'll be the first of many that come back.
Do you think we'll finally get the scene? I know it happens in the comics where Rick go, oh, this might be where, I just thought of something. Maybe this is where they introduce him. You remember midpoint in the comics, before where they are in the show. Rick goes back to where he buried Shane because he's having hallucinations of him, and he kind of goes and puts a bullet in him just to make sure.
Maybe. Do you
think we finally see this scene that I know a lot of people wanted to see for a little while?
It would make sense. I mean, it's a nice throwback to the books. I mean, but they're so far gone from that point.
I mean, it could be just something that they include just, to bring it in.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to remember the exact issue that it was Rick wakes up in the hospital and, nothing happened.
Yeah.
I know, I want to say it's 75, but please correct me on social media. I'm not looking at the computer for this one. That it waked up, and I remember it was the only issue I think they've done in color because the comic is done in black and white.
Yep.
And I want to say it was a throwback, and I want to say maybe they're doing that issue.
That could be.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe it is the one where he goes to the grave just to make sure, and he finally snaps. Because, I mean, obviously if they're building up, it's going to be Rick versus Maggie this season.
Right. Now that I think about it, the only other issue with that is Shane was buried back in Georgia, but they are currently in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe he's going to have a flashback where that happened off camera.
That could be. I
mean, there's so many possibilities it's going to go with it, but it'll be exciting to see John Bernthal back on the show, for whatever time period it's going to be. I mean, for The Walking Dead, it's going to be a nice throwback, and if this might be the last season, I'm not saying it is.
I think it's second to last.
But I think they do wrap up in season 10.
They go 10, call it a wrap.
I mean, that's going to be my early guess. I mean, we'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong. Let us know on the hashtag ODPHEE. But speaking of shows and finales, so to speak, Supergirl had their season finale this past week. Kind of mixed, I got to admit.
Yeah, no, it's showing promise, though, for me.
Absolutely. This season was a definite step in the right direction for Supergirl. I did like the additional Legion of Superheroes to the team because to give it more of a DCU feel that I think maybe because it's on a different planet, they don't really touch upon as much, and you can only do so much time travel with the Flash, that I think for this season it was a nice addition, and it definitely tied in the Mon-El story to a fitting end because, spoiler alert, that at the end of the episode, him and Wynn go back to the 31st century, I believe.
Something like that.
They're in the future now. Brainiac 5 is now stayed with the DEO, who is now being helmed by Alex Danvers. John Jones has taken a sabbatical to walk amongst the Earth to kind of learn more about humanity.
Yeah.
And Supergirl has defeated Reign, we think, but they kind of leave the cliffhanger.
Comics.
That they're going to go into a classic Superman storyline of Red Sun.
Yep.
So we're not exactly sure what's going, but I will say the season was definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Definite step in the right direction. I know my biggest critique after the previous season of Supergirl was it lacked direction. It lacked focus. It lacked having the main villain that while you have your subplots and your side plots going on, you have that one villain who is still trying to accomplish what they want. They got that in Reign, and it was good to see.
Yeah, it was very good to see. So now wherever they go next season, I'm very intrigued to watch.
Yeah.
And the only other DC news I heard, now this has wrapped up their season finales on CW, but coming back for next season is Arrow, and Stephen Amell threw the challenge out, if I read it correctly, that he wants this season written like it's the last season. Now, meaning not saying he wants it canceled by any means.
Just don't hold anything back.
But he's really challenged the writing crew of Arrow, and I love the idea.
So do I.
I think just to give them the shot in the arm to say, hey, let's just go all out and let's see what happens.
Yeah, turn them loose. Don't hold back. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, and I think at this point, Arrow has done so much that I think it's very cool to see the actor challenge the writing team, and I think they'll step up to it. I really think.
Without a doubt.
From everything I've read thus far, they really have, and I think the cast has been extremely happy at the direction of the show because this season has been hit and miss for Arrow. I will say it was probably the fourth best show they had on CW behind Black Lightning, Legends. No, actually, I'll say it was the third because Flash was more off point than not for me this season.
I'll say I'd go with the same, but for me, it's Flash and Arrow kind of trade week to week based on whatever show. There was 1 week Flash is better, 1 week Arrow was better.
Arrow finished stronger, though.
Yes.
In my opinion, when they
yes.
finally got rid of the wannabe Legion of Doom, I guess you could call them, and finally got down to Ricardo Diaz, who is coming back next season.
Oh, boy.
That's when they really hit their stride. And that's when you finally just got back to basics.
Yep.
Just Ollie versus one villain. Let's see where the chips fall. Perfect ending for that. The only other one shot I had this week is there's a little bit of comic spoiler news.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, which has been leaked to major media markets that the quote-unquote wedding of the century from Marvel, that is, not the big Batman Catwoman shindig going down in July 4th, I believe. Colossus and Kitty Pryde in X-Men 30, the wedding did not happen.
Whoops.
No. It turned out it was going to be Gambit and Rogue.
Ooh, finally.
Yes, there's media breaking about it, so definitely check out the issue if you wanted to see the follow-up, but they did pull a nice swerve at Marvel, albeit I did not see this one coming.
I don't think anybody would have.
No, Bry Guy Signal I did talk to about it, and he did not see this one coming, so really interested to see where they go with this, and I know they're rolling out a new book, I believe it's called Mr. and Mrs. X, coming out later this year.
Okay. I see what they
for
did there.
Marvel, yeah, which I think is it's a nice concept. So let's see where they go with that. And speaking of that is all we have for this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. But before we go, we're going to take you out with a song that you'll be hearing this Saturday night if you happen to get down to Galaxy Brewery, Saturday, June 23rd. 607 Crimson Brethren, A Trillion Lives, and Walking Distance is going to be playing. Now, you heard the episode last week. Shout out to Rob Kacharik coming on the show. He was telling you all about his musical journey, being an autopilot off, Dead Ahead, 607, and now currently in Walking Distance. So we're going to take you out with the song Blue Lips off the Walking Distance latest album. So for Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.